today's show, we're going to be doing a training. And today's training is how to attract passive talent through your digital presence. As you guys know, right now, for most of you, it's a very heavily candidate-driven market. Most of you have a lot of opportunities on your plate, and the biggest problem that you're facing is being able to fill these opportunities fast enough, making sure that your clients are happy, making sure that you're delivering the impact that you want in your markets. There's some common challenges that come up for recruiters when markets like this. The first challenge is that whether you like to hear this or not, most recruiters are a commodity. And if you look the same and you act the same and you show up the same as the next recruiter, then you are the same. And by definition, that makes you a commodity. And being a commodity in a market like this is really challenging because a lot of talent is being reached out to on a daily basis. A lot of your competitors are reaching out to the same talent. A lot of direct, employers and hiring decision makers are reaching out to the same talent. And so when the market is saturated, what we're doing is we're ultimately competing for these candidates. We're competing for their attention before they even want to, engage with us. And so, that's kind of the first challenge, that most people are just a commodity, that they, as the candidate sees them, they don't view them as being any different than any other recruiter out there. So that's the first challenge that we'll, uncover here. The next is most recruiting agencies aren't leveraged like they can to be. Everything that they're doing is on a one-to-one outreach. Nobody's going to argue that, personal phone calls and meeting with somebody face-to-face isn't incredibly valuable. But this is 2020. And if you're not leveraging technology, if you're not leveraging automation, if you're not reaching more of a one-to-many approach, then you're going to just continue to fall behind. And it doesn't mean that you're going to replace the entire process with automation, for example. It's finding ways to use automation and technology in specific parts of the process to help you move along faster and to help you source faster. And the other thing that is a common problem is just obscurity. There's not enough people that know who you are in your market. There's not enough passive talent that has any idea that you even exist to the market. Okay. And so that's the three common challenges that recruiting agencies are facing is, like I said, one, they're a commodity. There's no differentiation between the next recruiter. So there's no real, motivated reason to reply. Two, not leveraged. Most of the activity is one-to-one. And then three, obscurity. Not enough people know about you. Now, ultimately, if you were going to look at this, the bigger overall arching problem is that there isn't a marketing system, or there isn't a digital system in place that helps to attract top talent. This isn't a training to help you go, hey, I need to do this instead of that. This is a training to help you understand that you can do this in addition to that. So, obviously, when we're trying to reach talent and fill positions, we're going to do anything and everything necessarily, including cold calling, email campaigns, and a lot of the traditional stuff that's out there. But what we're going to unlock for you today is just additional ways, more of a long-term play to actually attract candidates to us. So this isn't going to be your tactical solution. This is something you have to buy into and commit. Okay. Now, at the end of the day, like if you're looking at, increasing your billings, the difference between the average person or the average recruiting agency and the one that is, really doing exceptional is their ability to find and attract talent that others can't and do it faster than them. And so, one of the things that we focus on, and we'll focus on this training, is how we can leverage our reach as quick as possible. Okay. So the first thing, if you want to attract passive talent through your digital presence, is you got to figure out what is the exact talent that you're trying to do. This is very hard to do, if I'm being honest, as a generalist. But for those of you that are listening, and you do have a specific niche or niche that you're playing in, or a specific industry function, this is where this type of a strategy would really, fall in line for you. So the first thing is, well, who are the ideal candidates, right? And I think that if you're looking at, how you can fully leverage yourself, if you can be connecting with proactively a specific audience, a specific candidate every day, and you're really serving that, then you actually create a lot more leverage for yourself. And I'll elaborate on that here in a minute. But in order to differentiate, in order to not be a commodity, we need to know who we're trying to stand out to. And this is where the generalists get trapped, because, hey, I can fill these positions But when I'm in these markets like this that are a little bit more constrained and my, normal efforts aren't working, then our hands, can become a little bit more tied. So once we understand like, hey, this is exactly the market, let's just say I'm going after, product designers, for example, or, engineers, product engineers, then I want to really focus on how I can stand out to that audience. And the best way to do that is actually to position yourself as being an authority or a resource. And this is really critical on the passive talent thing, because what I don't want to always be doing is constantly reaching out to my market only when I have a need that I feel like I can serve them. Obviously, we do this and that's a part of the game, but if we're trying to attract passive talent, we want to be able to get ahead of somebody, build a relationship with them. And so when they view you as an authority and as a resource, then there's another set of value that you're bringing to the table for them other than just helping them find a job. And so that's the first thing that we want to focus on is, hey, who are the people that we want to be the authority to? Who do we want to differentiate and stand out to? And then become that resource to them in the marketplace. And if we don't get that foundational piece right, the rest of what I'm about to share with you really doesn't matter, because we have to, we have to not become a commodity. And that is probably one of the biggest overall challenges that recruiting agencies face, is what makes you different than the next guy out there or the next gal out there, right? So once we know how to stand out, once we know how to differentiate in the marketplace, and again, that's the key to attract passive talent, then the next thing we want to be doing is we want to be focusing on consistently growing your pond, growing your audience on different, social media channels, through email channels, etc. So if we were just talking about LinkedIn here, once I know, okay, this is the talent that I want to be engaging with, then every single day you need to have a system in place that is growing your network with that talent. Again, we're talking about passive. So I'm going to grow my network with all the potential high-level talent that I feel like could be a fit long-term for the positions that I'm filling. And I know that that's not always cookie cutter. I know that every single role, every single position is going to have subtle different nuances. But if we can just think about it from a high level, I want to build my network with as many of the same like-minded people as possible. Okay. Now, this is where there's one of those opportunities that you can either grow your network, one-to-one manually, or you can use a tool to help you do that. The bottom line, though, is going back into being very targeted and very deliberate. When you're using technology, when you're using automation, a lot of people just start to think of the word spam, and that's not the approach. It's using a very targeted, focused approach where we're going to use a tool or technology to drive some action for us, but we're still very focused on who we're reaching out to and making sure that our message hits home with that person. But essentially, when I know who I'm going to stand out to, then I want to get myself in front of as much of that potential passive talent as possible. And so I want to be focused on growing my audience every single day. Now, once they're a part of our network, then that's going to give us a couple of different ways that we can attract them to us. And so the first is really being able to engage with them more proactively through the inbox. And what I mean by this is we don't have to connect with somebody and then immediately present them with a role that you might think they might be a good fit for. Now, of course, there's going to be time and a place for that, and that's going to be a part of the strategy. But we also, in addition to that, we can be connecting with somebody, building awareness around who we are, building and starting to have that positioning of the authority, starting to add the value, become that resource, is the value of growing the network. And once we start that relationship with somebody, then the content and being able to send them a message via video or send them a message using a voice note. Why video? Why voice note? Well, I don't know that a lot of people, again, going back, we're competing for attention. And if you know that your candidate is just getting a generic InMail or a generic LinkedIn message every day, why not just do something a little bit different? Why not focus on how you can deliver that message differently? And that's where that ability to send a voice note or a personalized video can be, incredibly powerful in terms of starting conversations. Again, there's tools that you can help leverage you to be able to send some of those messages more automatically, so you can set up a campaign in the morning, go do more of your revenue driving activities, and have a tool, driving some of your lower level activities. So as you guys are listening to this, feel free to drop in and ask some questions. What's up, Marcus? What's going on, Matt? How you guys doing? So we've got the standing out for differentiation. We're going to be growing our network proactively. Those that join our network, we can proactively send them unique messages using video or using audio. Now the next thing is capturing this audience in the feed. And this is where having the ability to create content becomes powerful for you. Okay. And so people are like, well, where does content fit into the whole recruiting game? Well, 9 times out of 10, one post isn't going to help you solve a specific problem, but the consistency of having a presence, one, is going to help you further overcome the viewing as being a commodity. And now you can really position yourself as being an authority. It's one thing to be an authority, and it's another thing to demonstrate or say that I'm an authority. It's another thing to demonstrate that I'm an authority through my content and through my presence. And so we have all these people that we're going to connect with. We know just based off of doing outreach for years and years and years that a certain people, the majority of people, aren't going to respond to our direct messages. And that's where having this content through the feed is critically important. So 3 different types of content that I would recommend for this specific, passive talent. One that we do really well is creating slideshows and doing job postings using a slideshow. And the reason we do that is because the slideshow works with LinkedIn's algorithm. It helps get more views on just a standard job post. So I'm not talking about paying for a LinkedIn post. I'm talking about getting creative, creating slides, posting it through your individual profile. As people scroll the feed, we now become more of a marketer and less of a recruiter. And we try to capture people's attention with our initial slide so that they'll look at this job opportunity. Now, I've had plenty of clients that use this system and actually get qualified candidates to reach out to them. But that's not the main objective of something like this. The main objective is to build my authority and to build myself as a resource. And when I do this through time, it's like, hey, look, if I say I am the civil engineering recruiter, and then I'm consistently going out and I'm proving through open roles that I have for civil engineering recruiters, tips for civil engineering recruiters, wins of me placing civil engineering recruiters, then as my market is watching passively, they start to see who they want to be and who the ultimate resource in that place is, right? And so you post these job postings, and through time, somebody, your network will start to comment on your job postings just so you can get more reach and other potential candidates to come through. Then on the other side, what will happen is sometimes you will actually get a very qualified prospect. Again, this is about attracting passive talent to our inbox. Okay. Now, the next thing that is really powerful, so that's the video job posting. The second type of post is actually doing a video around your open position. And this is incredibly powerful. One, because you will get direct response from the videos that you're creating and then the market responding to that. But 2, again, going back into the branding, now my prospective passive talent that's in the marketplace that's watching and seeing me on their news feed, because they're not actively out there looking, right? So they are on social media. So they see you, with these open positions. But the great thing about doing a video job posting is people can buy your energy at that point. That's one thing that written text, I don't think that those things, written text can't do the same job as what video can. So as you guys are listening to me in this content that I'm creating, you're also developing a relationship with me, whether it be good or bad, just based off of who I am as an individual and the energy that I'm bringing to this training. So it's the same thing for you. It's like, hey, look, if you get a job, open job, why not create a video to go promote, try to attract, people to the job. But if you think about it, not so much from just helping to fill that role, but if you think about it from a branding standpoint, when you think about it becoming the ultimate authority and the resource in your marketplace, then that's where those types of things, really add value. Okay. So you have your job posting with the slideshow, you've got your video job postings. And then the last thing is just creating very thoughtful leadership type of content, right? So, hey, if you have the ability and you need to attract talent, then start writing thoughtful posts that are going to, specifically geared for the candidates that you're going after, and give them different ways that they can, advance their career. Talk about the pain points that they may not even be realizing in their current employer so that we can get them to open their eyes to there are other opportunities out there. right? Sometimes people don't know what they don't know, and they might be sitting in a job that they don't even realize is crummy for them, and what other opportunities exist. So as you're looking at creating your pain, providing different solutions, but also showing them outcomes that they may not even have thought of before. And so, those are the three types of posts that will help you attract, passive talent. The PowerPoint or the presentation type posts, the videos, and then the thought leadership style of postings. Okay. The last thing that we would want to do to really capture the attention of passive talent through your digital presence comes from more of a multi-channel approach, right? So this is where you would really get strategic with your outreach so that there's no way that your candidate can't know. When you go into straight sales and marketing, they usually say what it's like, I don't know, it's probably more than what it is. It used to be. It used to be like 6 to 7 touch points, right? I'm sure you guys have heard that before. 6 to 7 touch points before somebody even realizes who you are. So the beauty of a multi-channel is like, okay, well, I can take and go, hey, LinkedIn, start on LinkedIn. They don't, engage on LinkedIn. Then I go to email. Then I can go even to voicemail. And so having a good multi-channel approach is going to be really powerful for you. But one of the other opportunities that's out there that a lot of people may not have thought of is, again, going back into passive talent, not where we're trying to aggressively fill something right now, but when we're trying to attract passive talent, is having an email list, having a nurtured audience that you can deliver your value to on a consistent basis. So as we're posting and creating all this content, we're going to put it on our LinkedIn feed. We might as well take the small amount of people that become more of a warm prospect and put them onto a list where we then email them value. We're not always emailing them an open pitch, so to speak, for a role. We're able to send them interviewing tips. We're able to send them career advancement tips. We're able to give them market industry trends. We're able to give them salary advice. And again, I'm now the resource. I'm now the thought leader. I'm now the authority in that space. And I attract passive talent to me. Now, a lot of you guys have been taught the classic old school NPC approach. Well, there's no better way to get some candidates to you than through your digital presence. And then you can take this type of strategy and incorporate it with that traditional NPC strategy. So, just get creative, think outside of the box. And again, a lot of this passive stuff isn't always designed to win overnight. A lot of this is designed to build that brand that people can see you online. So as they get to know, like, and trust you in the future, you're going to increase, your ability to interact and respond with them. And I'll just kind of leave this. Some of you joined a couple of weeks ago with when I was interviewing my buddy Tom, and when Tom came on here, he was sharing how one of his recruiters was doing outreach to a prospective candidate. They weren't getting the response they want. Tom's the authority in his space. And once Tom reached out specifically, the candidate jumped on the phone with him. And so that is the difference of, being the authority in the market, being, viewed as an expert, as viewed as a resource versus just being viewed as a recruiter. People will jump and respond because they're going to see you in a different light. And this is the way of the future of recruiting. You can stay behind the scenes and continue to do it manually, or you can put yourself out there and really focus on attraction. And a lot of these same principles that we just went over would be the same exact principles that we use actually to attract clients as well, right? Figuring out, hey, who our ideal client is, connecting with those clients every single day, putting different sequences in to help it make it easier on us, creating content for those clients, reaching out to the inbox. So all of this type of a strategy can really be played with on both sides of the coin. And that's the thing is, this isn't a one-off type of tactic. This is a process that you would have to commit to. And we call this the relevant recruiter method. And I've helped hundreds of recruiters and recruiting agencies attract top talent using this specific method right here. And when you use the relevant recruiter method, what happens is you can ultimately fill jobs faster. You can outcompete your competitors by, attracting candidates and talent that they're just not able to do. You can build relationships and build them more proactively, and you can do it at scale. So it's not so one-to-one, it's more one-to-many. You can decrease your sourcing time, by candidates reaching out to you, candidates booking onto your calendar. You can increase your response rates because you're no longer a commodity. People value you as being a recruiter. And ultimately, you can get more referrals because you're creating a network of like-minded, talent and pond audience, so to speak. And when we can get more referrals that way, um, that's where the referrals become more valuable. So if I'm connecting with a bunch of accounting and finance professionals every single day, and my network is always growing, and then I'm sharing these different job postings, even the ones that aren't relevant to people, the people that are happy with their current position, they might share with their friend and somebody else in their community that is accounting and finance professional. So like I said, this isn't a tactic. This is an overall comprehensive method that works. But if you're just doing these things, hey, if you just take and go post a job one time today, it ain't gonna work. I wouldn't sit here and lie to you and tell you that. Not saying you couldn't get a potential quick win, but it's not going to do the impact of if you actually build this out with a methodology. So if that's something that you're interested in, what I'd like to offer you is a free strategy session. You and I would get on a call. On this call, what we will do is we will, figure out exactly where you're at now, where you want to go. We will really identify what some of those roadblocks are that are preventing you from getting there. And then we'll take a look and see, how the relevant recruiter method can apply to your business. Now, if there's a fit for us to work together, that's great. But these calls are no pressure, no obligation. This is all about just getting you clarity so that we can make this the most powerful year for you. So if you're interested in that, drop a comment below, drop a me below. I'll reach out to you, or simply just send me a direct message, and we'll set up time to get on my calendar. But if you're not utilizing these types of techniques to build your brand and attract passive talent, then now's the time to do that, because the market's ahead. People are already doing these types of things. The longer you wait, the further you fall behind. But if you take action now on something like this, you can capitalize on this strong market that we're currently in, and we can capitalize on it quick. So this is Donnie Gupton. Thank you guys so much for hanging with me today. Again, if you're interested in the call, drop a me in the comments below, or go ahead and drop me a direct message, and we'll talk to you all next week.